Greetings ladies and gents, and welcome to today's Reddit quickie video, taken from the HFY subreddit. The story is called Peritite Slavers Get Too Close to Adorable Humans. You won't believe what happens next. Written by Howl's Kitchen Sink. The link to the original will be down below. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. John Jack, the hero of the Battle of the Haunted Nebula, U.S. Space Marine and the deadliest sapient in the galaxy, sat in a small bar, a glass of pure ethanol sitting in front of him, delicate shards of ice spinning in the vacuum outside of the glass steel window. "It's hard, you know," he growled, his voice raspy. His eyes were on the view screen. A sad-looking Gofrati male stood, his dozens of iridescent feathers flashing and drooping as he spoke of the tragedies occurring on Earth. The Quinlan sitting next to John nodded sympathetically as John threw back the glass, trying to suppress a smile. John shot the smooth-skinned reptiloid a dirty look. "No, I can imagine," it hissed, frills twitching in the air in amusement. John cursed himself inwardly. The Qualians developed stiff, immobile scales as they reached maturity. These scales were only pliable in their infancy, which made wrinkled features like, for example, a Terran shooting someone a dirty look, childlike and endearing. John tapped the glass's rim, and the Qualian hooted at the bartender. Those same scales made of inflexible and clumsy, at least by John's standards. The average Terran could scoop out of the Quilian Blood Knight's eyes with their thumbs and suffocate them under the weight of their forelimbs with the minimum difficulty. It would have been easy to kill the Quilian for an insult, but he just thought John was cute, and it was hardly fair to hold it against the universe's sick joke against one sapient. "I am not cute," said Jack, slurring his words slightly. "Of course you're not. Would you like more ethanol?" asked the Pretain on the other side. The heavily furred lupinoid reached out and paused for a moment. "Is it okay if I pet your head?" "Fine," muttered Jack. The Pretian was young, 7 feet tall, and they were intimidating looking, strapping with muscles and claws. They also were incapable of maintaining the simplest of thoughts when they were agitated, making them unbelievably easily to trip up. Foolish as a berserk Pretian was a byword. They were also covered with a thick fur across their entire bodies. The exotic human skin, juxtaposed with a head of smooth and silky hair, was apparently tactilely pleasing to them. The Pretian leaned forward and began rubbing John's head with both hands, an expression of pure delight on the alien's face. "Would you like more of those poisonous plants soaked in oil?" It indicated the French fries in front of John. He shook his head. These poor sapiens exist in a world full of danger and predators. As recently as 100 years ago, humans were still frequently preyed upon by the dominant predators of their world. The Gofrati male disappeared from the screen, replaced by a picture of a hippopotamus. Natural disasters continued to batter some of the few habitable parts of their world. The image cut to a snowstorm in upstate New York. Personally, Jack thought it looked rather pretty, but there was a soft groan of sympathy from the bar as humans were depicted walking hunched through the snow, bent over in heavy coats. "Poor things," murmured the bartender, a chitinous look. It looked as nothing as a man-sized bipedal scorpion, but the creatures were notoriously vulnerable. Their hydraulic-based muscles poorly scaled, and their oxygen intake extreme, leaving them permanently anemic with the most environments. John Jack couldn't even remember why they thought humans were cute, but he knew that they did. Every goddamn alien did. "I've fought in no fewer than 8 wars, you know," John said, trying to keep the tone as petulance out of his voice. "That was very brave," said the Quilian. "Hey, here, would you like to play with this?" It produced a Rubik's Cube. John settled his head in his own hands. "Ah, do you need a nap?" There was a crash from the door, and half a dozen Peritite slavers swarmed into the room, their thick shells dripping mucus. There were screams of fear as the musculoid creatures spread throughout the room. John Jack focused, adrenaline pushing back the haze of alcohol. His eyes flicked over the weapons. They appeared to be typical set of slaver-controlled arts, a delicate cocktail of analgesics and depressants that would leave the vast majority of sapient species in a bleary state of, "Oh my God, boss!" shouted one of the Peritites, pointing at John. "Look!" The mollusk's eyes widened. John recognized him. He was one with the bounty on his head, his shell spread open with an unmistakable expression of Peritite delight. "Oh my God, Clararak! Get the camera! Get the camera!" The Peritite was standing next to John within a handful of seconds, grinning, one gooey tentacle raised in a crescent shape, the other on John's shoulders, shell wide open as his second-in-command produced a hollow camera. John's elbow cracked into the Peritite's boneless head, and it fell to like a house of cards soaked in slime. The human continued a motion of the single smooth pirouette, twisting the ball of his foot and grabbing the full glass of ethanol from the counter, scooping it up and hurling it into the face of one of the gun-wielding Peritites. The snail shrieked as the salt in the rum struck its skin, the nasty blisters raising from it in a ring. John was already following it, leaping from the stool to the counter and kicking the fries into the face of the third Peritite. Hot oil scalding the gooey creature, he leapt off the table, his heels cracking into the shells of the two remaining armed Peritites, leaving fine hairline fractures down across the length of their bodies. This left the last Peritite staring, his mouth open. "I can't believe it. It wobbled cheerily. Captain, I got the whole thing. That was hilarious." Then John knocked the alien senseless. Half an hour later, Captain KX's and the Red Panda were standing in the bar, the rest of the crew helping him bind the slavers. "John," the octopoid frowned, skin flashing red and orange, tentacles coiled in a tight circles, pressed into something equivalent to hips. "This is why I don't like it when you go off to drink ethanol. What if they gotten the drop on you and you sold you off with some exotic animal collection? I was so worried." "It's fine," slurred John, bent over his drink. "And where's your ID?" "It's a collar," growled John. "Oh, come on, John. You know it's not like that. It's very important. You're from a death world. It's just part of the intergalactic law to show you're sapient and not dangerous. Just a formality. People don't treat me like I'm from a death world. It's degrading." He tried to stop growling. Low-frequency sounds were particularly soothing to the KX's species, the frequency used by the immature members of the species to beg for affection and food. "You'd tell me if you were keeping me around as a pet, right, KX?" "Of course I would. And you're not a pet. You're a human, a good human." "Who's a good human? Who's a good human?" KX ruffled and stroked John's hair. John didn't dignify the question with a response. "Come on, let's go back to the ship and bring these jokes with us." John grunted, standing up, his eyes flicked to the screen. The Feldspar newscaster smiled. On the lighter side, amateur photographers captured this footage of a group of Peritite slavers and a human. John covered his face with his hand and threw back another glass of ethanol. And that, my friends, is the end of this Reddit Quickie. I hope that you enjoyed. If you would like to support this channel, there are numerous ways to do so, listed in the description down below. The easiest and best way would be to share this video and my channel as much as possible. I'll see you all in the next video, and I hope that you have a good one until then. Cheers.